Well, you're actually getting the first public demonstration of a package that I've been thinking of for over 10 years, but I've never been able to find somebody to really get it implemented and to get it finished. Um, you've probably seen some discussions in forums where people who are not as tech savvy as some of the workshop visitors are say that they've tried to run OS2 and they have a problem, but they cannot describe it clearly. Um, you end up in a sometimes long and frustrating battle to get wrong. And if we flip the page, can everybody still hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, now I'm just checking if the audio doesn't break apart. Sorry for the phone speaking a bit screwed up. But anyway, if you look at other operating systems, they will have some sort of slick remote control built in. Like if, for example, in Windows, some of the sometimes useless wizards that try to fix problems that they don't fix at all, it comes up with, would you like to invite a friend to provide support? Other options that have been around for OS2, such as Nettop and Copycat and other applications, are either extremely insecure or they are no longer available. We also have nothing in the form of TeamViewer for OS2 or anything that's close to it. So, what? As I said, the forums are great, but it doesn't always help if somebody cannot describe a problem clearly, or he has to collect some information or edit a file. There are numerous occasions where it would be simpler if you could just see the screen and somebody could explain it to you. Before I got my current job, I sat 2 years Helpdesk systems, and it was always a breeze having TeamViewer present to to see what the customer meant. He could point his mouse pointer at the problem at the screen and say, this doesn't work. So a forum is great, but if somebody has to make pictures and send them to a forum, and it doesn't help. So what could the end user do? Well, providing access to a system on OS2, the only option that you really have is running VNC server and setting up a port forward in your router. Well, that's the next big step that probably will make some users their heads spin, and then they've got even a longer way to go to get support. So what does this new package that has been developed actually does? Well, you can see it running on, you just saw it running on the screen. What I have running here at home is I'm running a SSH tunnel, and on the other end is a small graphical user, a small program that you click on, you click connect, and it connects through the SSH. You can still hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, Roderick, can you hear us? We can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now I thought that the audio dropped out. I've had too many issues with Skype recently. So what's the benefit of it? This package is secure. It's encrypted, so nobody can break into your VNC server. The user that starts the package doesn't have to provide any. He doesn't have to do any port forwards on his router. And in fact, if you do it correctly, you can even start this from a USB stick on a booted Arc OS system and get access remotely. So as I'm doing right now, I just have full access to the desktop, and it just looks transparent, and you guys are about 7,000 miles away. So this package, I'll flip the slide. So who can use it? Well, the utility will be provided free of charge by OS2 Voice to the entire community, and the source code will also be made available. and everybody who wants to help other OS2 users with their system will be able to do so. They just need to set up a port forward in their router at home and put it on the system, and you can send a package to the person that you want to help. Now, the cool thing is that every customer that you help, every person, can get a own version of his package. That also means that not everybody can just start that executable and connect to your system. So it's a pretty secure solution. I'll be providing this package after Warpstock. It's version 1.0. It has already been tested over a satellite uplink. It works, and as you can, I'm actually surprised it worked that well. It's version 1.0, so it doesn't have a file transfer or a chat facility yet, but this is a start. It was one of the projects that OS2 Voice set out to get started last year, and it's finally here. So, and I have to say a big thank to Rich Walsh. He did all of our work. This idea has been floating around forever, and now we finally have it. So I actually hope that this can make some support, that the community can make good use of it and help some of the people who are not as well established on OS2 by able to log in and provide support. I'll certainly start doing it free of charge and on the best effort basis, of course, but that's why I wanted to present this to you people. It's a short presentation. It took more work to get the whole project working. That took a couple of weeks of coding to get it all fit and finished. Are there any questions?
Why isn't there file support when VNC Server has it?
The version that you can see that is included in here runs with EMX DLL, and it's a slimmed down version. And everything that you need is contained in this package. So it has the EMX DLLs, the SSH server, and the VNC server built in. The package that you're sending to the customer is about, as you've seen, 900 kilobytes. It is probably the world's tiniest remote support tool that currently exists. I don't know if I'm right, but I've been talking to Rich about including the new VNC server version, but it requires a whole lot more DLLs and dependencies, making the package bigger. So that's still for discussion, but we're looking to see if we could implement other forms of a chat function. But I guess the first thing that we could do is we wanted to see how well this would be received by the community. And if people have questions about the package, you can always send an email to helpdesk@os2voice.org. So there is an email address where you can ask questions or submit a bug. So anyway, that's why there's not yet file transfer and chat support built in.
Is there going to be a cost for a client side?
Sorry?
Is there going to be a cost for the client side?
Roderick.
Martin, can you hear me?
Yeah, the question is if there's going
No,
to be a cost.
the whole thing is breaking up too bad. Repeat the question.
The question is if there's going to be a cost for the client side.
If you can hear me, just type it on the NetLabs channel. Oh, sorry.
Roderick, yes, we can hear you. Yeah. Let me see. I need to put it this way.
Okay.
I need to free my hand. Hello, Roderick, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
What
okay.
was the question?
If there's going to be any cost for the client side.
No, it's all free of charge.
All three, okay.
Any other question?
it costs zero. It costs nothing.
So
Now, if people want to make a donation to OS2 Voice for this, that will be very well appreciated. But the license is free and everybody is free to use it, also for commercial usage.
okay, is it based on BNC technology on the back? And what else?
It's very simple. It connects with an SSH tunnel, and and on the side where you guys are, there's a VNC server running, and I'm running a VNC client on this side.
Okay.
And what the SSH client does in your package is that it connects to my computer through your router to my open port and IP address that's specified. And I can then connect to over the SSH tunnel to the VNC server that's running on your system. And I must say it actually works surprisingly well, considering that it's halfway around the globe. Now, I do have some redraw issues, but the real sexy thing of it is that this can even work on in theory, this should work on a core system if it has an internet connection, because it's not dependent on any libraries that are on the system.
Yeah, I foresee only one problem with this is if we can't do chat, you actually need to make a phone call and be on the system at the same time.
Yeah.
There is
Martin,
Yeah.
I'm hearing half of the audio from the room because the microphone is not picking it up very well.
Yeah, there was a comment that, well, that this tool should be used with the phone for voice communication or a chat, so people can chat while they take a remote control. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's true, but so far we've never had anything like this. So
Okay.
this is why it's also version 1.0. But Rich Vos didn't want to put a large VNC executable in there with all of the DLLs because that would probably be a couple of megabytes in terms of binaries that would need to be shipped to people. I don't think it's a problem, but Rich Walsh coded the program free of charge, so yeah, it's at least it's a start. But since we have the VNC working now, Rich Walsh and I first wanted to see if people in the community would actually start using it. But the fact that we can see that I can see your screen now and just look at the system and make changes while you're looking, I think already makes it a whole lot easier.
On the program, where do you configure
So
to
it's on our list to look at the chat and a file transfer option. This version, so people can use it.
Okay. Roderick, just one question, because I just looking at the screen and there is the helpdesk.exe file. Is there any other files, or that is just the file that one side just execute?
Yes, there is I will be releasing the entire zip file publicly somewhere next week.
Okay.
And what it does is that there's if you actually look in here, it's probably the same program. This is an older version that New has been testing with. And let's see here, is this the, this is a pretty old version. Now, there's a program in the server portion, and with that, you can type in the person's name and the person who's providing support and your IP address, and if you want your port number. And when you then hit the make button, it will automatically make you send that to the person to have support. But in the background, oh, it's not opening it. In the background, the helpdesk executable will unpack the SSH and the VNC server to a temporary directory and start it up. But for the person getting the helpdesk package, that's all he has to do. Now, if he wants to disconnect, open the video window and hit Control, and that will close the window and end the connection. And it will also then delete all of the temporary files.
Okay.
So that's it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. I think we need to try it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will try and make it available over the weekend. It will probably be posted on one of the OS2 Voice web pages. And again, it's free of charge as a download. And well, all credit goes to Rich Walsh for creating this. So, are there any other questions?
If there aren't, Roderick, you had a voice presentation that you could do with the remainder of the time?
Oh, I could certainly do that right now if that is you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah, the problem is when somebody talks from the room, the microphone does not pick up all of the speech because the microphone mutes it. But I can do my voice presentation right now if you guys want.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Okay, I will do it right now then. Here it is. Oh, I guess I just encountered a bug. Can you start the presentation, Martin?
Yes, Neil is just running it. Okay. Do you see it?
Yeah, I can see it now. It works. The mouse pointer was partly screwed up. I'll just give you guys a short wrap up what Voice is doing and what we've achieved. Warpstock in Berlin this year had some people visiting Warpstock for the first time, so having it in a different location was a good success. The social event, a bus trip, was also very well received. Sadly, we only had 26 visitors, but I simply had a new job since January of this year, moved to a new house, and had some other private issues with a couple of sick family members. So hopefully next year it will do better. One of the main things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get OS2 more visible outside the OS2 community.
Sorry, Roderick, we're listening. You can you repeat the last?
Idea of the OS2 caveman living in the cave to the community. People know that OS2 even exists. That's why I'm called Rex
Roderick,
LA
Roderick?
from the United States, and they, yes.
Okay, we start to lose you. Can you repeat the last things that you said?
What is it, Martin?
Hello? No, we're listening him. Hello, hello, hello.
Can you hear me?
Badly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Can you talk a little bit more so?
Okay, is this better
Okay.
like this, or is the audio still breaking up?
No, it is better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. As I said, I'm trying to get other groups who are interested in older operating systems or computers to mix with the OS2 community and to get them together.
Now, actually, can you guys still hear me? I'm just checking.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, last night was a development that that for me, I first was thinking was a lot of work, but I'm going to try it. I have tried and hook up with the Dutch Amiga and Commodore user group. I'll get back to that later, because there's a very interesting revival of people who are interested in retro computing, as in running older computers and playing DOS games or Windows on it, for example. There's the Dutch HCC, which is the Hobby Computer Club, and I found out last night that they are actually organizing a one-day event about 15 miles away from where I had Warped Europe planned, and there's a whole group of people visiting, about between 1,000 to 2,000 visitors, and I'm actually planning to see if I can get Warpstock to be part of that event, so that other people can also visit and hear about OS2 instead of us sitting in a hotel room or a youth hostel alone. Because visibility for our community at this moment, I think, is a pretty critical thing. I just heard it last night. We're looking at pricing. It would still be on the same days as Warpstock 2019, which was already announced, 18th and 19th of May, but it might happen at a different location. As I said, it would be on the 18th and 19th of May, and currently it's Stay OK youth hostel chain in Soest, which is near Amersfoort, which is just about dead center in the middle of the country. So what have we done this year? We've released our TeamViewer solution. Well, TeamViewer, at least some sort of remote control tool. Alex Taylor has made a version public of this tool that you can still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, we missed the last thing that you were saying about Alex. Can you repeat it?
He created the tool that allows you to install LAN server components, or from Warp Server for e-business, of one of the Aurora convenience packages on Arca OS, so that you can turn it into a LAN server if you want. You can still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that we're working on is that's still in the pipeline, is a repository called rpmos2voice.org. Yes, Martin, I know you sent me a couple of RPM packages, but there's still some work in the pipeline to get things online. And of course, we did Warpstock 2018. At least the Voice Foundation has made it possible that Warpstock has to live on here in Europe. And next year we will be celebrating our 20th Warpstock Europe. The first one was held in 1999. And I think another pretty big achievement of OS2 Voice, Bitwise Works, and the OS2 community is the fact that we've been able to collect funding to get the graphical library Qt ported to OS2. And we are so far at $14,000. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is a topic that you've probably seen my emails going out to the OS2 community begging for more money, but it's very simple. Firefox is going to run out of track. We've discussed that quite a lot. There are multiple reasons for not going with Firefox 52. The first one is the new language that it's written in. Second, it seems that even if we get a compiler for the Rust language, OS2 might simply not provide enough virtual address space to even compile the new Firefox. Second, it's the issue that Firefox just changes too many libraries at the same time, and that makes it to be a gigantic headache. You guys still hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Qt is currently 25% done, so it's making progress. There have been people that when the funding campaign started said, well, do we have any certainty that it's going to be finished? Well, I guess you could say the same thing about running OS2 in 2019 almost. IBM 2005. That's a gamble in life that you've taken run OS2. So I guess Bitwise Works has been doing a pretty good job at supporting it. Is the browser perfect? No, it's not. But Bitwise Works basically took over starting at Firefox version 17. That's when they stepped in. And without the efforts of Bitwise Works, we would have not even had SeaMonkey or Thunderbird in its current shape at all. So anyway, the gist is donations are welcome. They're extremely badly needed. We currently have about 6,000 euros left, but this is not all Bitwise Works money that people donated. As I always say, free software doesn't grow on trees. A lot of open source projects, like the OpenOffice project I found out, had IBM developers working on it until I understand they no longer do. So that was, by the way, before Apache took over. Are you guys still hearing me?
Yes, yes, we hear you.
Okay. So as I always say, free software doesn't grow on trees. And the same thing is true for a new browser. So again, donations are welcome, and Voice has enough money to pay for the Warpstock event next year. This is one of the big things that I've been working on recently, and you'll probably see the third line there. To some extent, we are signing our own death warrant for OS2. What I mean by that is if you start looking very closely at the current OS2 community, news distribution within the community is pretty lousy. What I mean by that is basically the work's being done by me and Martin to collect news, and we distribute it. But based upon the feedback that I get at Warpstock and people that visit the Dutch OS2 user group, up until 2 months ago, people were not even aware that Firefox 45 existed, as an example. So there's a large portion of the OS2 community that's not visiting OS2 World or OS2.org on a frequent basis. So the question is, how can we reach out to those people and try to be more visible? Bitwise Works has started to try and do a better job at being visible. They've started to become active on Twitter. They started to participate more on OS2.org, for example, and to do more community postings about what they are doing. Currently, Bitwise Works is maintaining about 230 different DLLs and tools to get OS2 applications compiling. That wasn't known until their Warpstock presentation. The real thing that where the visibility is also lacking is the visibility outside the OS2 community. There are a couple. Are you guys still hearing me?
Yes, Roderick.
Because here's really the important thing. Recently, social media, with how Twitter and Facebook has been dealing with certain dossiers in terms of information distribution and the election in the
Roderick,
uh,
Roderick.
this here social media, whatever form, is being abused. It's clearly there. That said, it is absolutely unavoidable for the OS2 community to use it much more intense. And I'll give you guys an example why. The reason that I mentioned the Commodore user group of the Dutch Hobby Computer Club, which is part of that, I talked to the chairman, and about 3 to 4 years ago, the Commodore 64 user group, which is only active in the Netherlands, was more or less dead. It had about 100 members. And are you guys hearing me, by the way? Just checking again.
Yes, now we're hearing you fine.
And they started a Facebook channel to promote the Commodore user group. Now, 4 years later, the Commodore user group has 400 active members. And about 2 weeks ago, I went to their user group meeting. They had a room filled up with a total of about 50 to 60 people, all using Commodore 64s, discussing it. They've got a lively magazine that they publish that they publish 6 times a year. And during their Christmas and autumn meeting, their current club building is getting too small. How did they primarily reach more users? It seems that their Facebook user group, where they post articles about Commodore 64, is the key message. Every posting that they now have gets anywhere from 400 to 2,000 people reading it. They actually have people coming from West Germany that drive for 2 hours in both directions to visit a user group meeting, and people coming from Belgium. So it clearly seems that, anyway, what I've been doing is that OS2 Voice is using the news system that we have, and we've been starting to get active on LinkedIn and Twitter to try and get news items out there and be visible outside of the community. Are you guys still hearing me?
Yes.
The other thing, and I discussed this with Martin, is that I'm working on a mailing list called press@os2voice.org. And one of the things that's really hurting the OS2 community is that a lot of the ICT press out there doesn't even know what's happening in our community, because we're not even giving them the opportunity to make it known what's happening. In fact, we don't send out a message that Warpstock is being organized, and we haven't sent out a message very clearly that a new ArcOS version has been sent out. So I'm trying to collect email addresses of ICT websites and computer magazine, and to at least send out a important press release, such as the announcement of Warpstock or the release of a new ArcOS version, a major OS2 event. So they don't need to have a new update that we have a new version of GCC available. But so these are the two things that I'm trying to work on with Voice to increase our visibility around the world. Is that an effective way of doing it? I don't know. But at least we should try to be more visible. Currently, most promotion is only occurring inside of the OS2 community, and it's not visible outside of the community. Most emails that we send out go to the known mailing lists. And if we want to be more visible publicly, then we need to start looking at other venues to be visible. And looking at how the Dutch Commodore user group grew in 3 to 4 years' time from 100 to 400 active users that visit the user group meeting every month at about 25% of its members. I think that's a pretty convincing testimonial that with the right usage of social media, you can actually reach other groups out there and other people who are interested in OS2. So So this is already in the works. The press list, I've got about 11 email addresses, and I'm still looking for other ones. The ones in Asia, for example, or South America, or Australia. And I'm currently working on setting up the last hookups to Google+, Facebook, and potentially Instagram, but I don't know yet if that is of any use. So I'm also not a social media expert. So I hope you found this a bit informative, that Voice is trying to keep Warpstock moving forward. We're trying to keep bringing out useful utilities to contribute to the community. And we're trying to make OS2 in general to be more visible inside the current community, but also outside of our community, so that other people can know that OS2 is still there and that they have a choice if they want to use OS2, yes or no. So, well, that wraps up my presentation about OS2 Voice. Are there any questions or suggestions? I'm certainly hoping that there are any suggestions what you would like to see OS2 Voice do for the community.
Yeah, I have one question. I thought Arca OS was supposed to be like mostly concentrated in the commercial part, and the regular part, like us guys, were just like an afterthought, because that's where the money is. So how is this kind of relevant?
Martin, can you repeat this question in front of the microphone, because I can barely hear what that person is saying right now.
I'm going to play the No Habla Inglés. I didn't understand the question.
You know, walk up there.
Yeah.
Come to the microphone. That's probably the only way that I can clearly hear you.
I didn't get it.
All right. Arca OS was supposed to be, according to what I read in previous years, was concentrated as a commercial product as opposed to like a personal product. So making it more visible to the rest of the world in terms of outside of commercial, how is it relevant to us?
Sorry? You mean how it's relevant for personal usage or commercial usage?
Relevant in terms of advertising, because if you're concentrating on commercial, the personal side doesn't really matter that much. We're not really that relevant.
Well, having worked for 10 years at Menzies on Ecom Station, I think there's always been a very important thing that, and I can actually mention that customer name by now because they have migrated away from OS2. I think it was about 10 years ago.
Roderick? Roderick, hello? Hello? Well, it was 10 years ago. Roderick? Hello?
The company in question censored
To the next time.
Yep, absolutely.
Hello, the audio dropped out.
Yes, yes. We didn't hear you. You say like
What
10,
was-
10 years ago, and that's all.
Okay, I'll walk closer to my Wi-Fi hotspot. Maybe that will help. About 10.
Hello, hello,
And
brother.
I still dropped out again.
Yeah, yeah. About 10
Someone's
and
censoring you.
about 10 years, and it drops out. Hello?
One moment.
Yeah, okay, okay.
There. Oh, no. One moment, let me call you back.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'll just do it with audio then. Hopefully that will work better.
Okay.
10 years ago at Mensis, we got an inquiry from the Danish company Denware that makes Netop. And they had a large bank from the United States, Wells Fargo. And Wells Fargo had just migrated away from OS2 to Windows. And I talked to the tech guy, and he said, "Shit! If only I would have heard sooner of you guys, we would have considered you as an alternative." Now, how the personal OS2 market space and the commercial market space primarily hangs together. Martin, your OS2 world is probably one of the biggest OS2 advertisement signs in the world. Where if people search on Google for companies, they'll probably bump into OS2 World or another OS2 website. There's a whole group of people that if you look at postings on Slashdot or OS News that comment on OS2 usage. And when somebody says that OS2 is dead and somebody else pops up and says, "Oh, I'm still using it here right now." Well, what better advertisement could you wish for? So the reason that voice is targeting the private users is companies are also looking at the private users to see what's happening with OS2. I cannot disclose the name of the company, but about also 10 years ago, I talked to a consultant at an insurance company from Canada, and they said that they were actually looking at the Warpstock presentations and the OS2 forums to see what the developments were in terms of OS2. So there are companies that are watching but not posting in the forums. So that's why we consider the community to be part of the livelihood of OS2. People are watching the forums that work inside companies. Maybe not all of them, but it's at least one way to be visible to those commercial customers.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, tell them thank
Can
you.
you hear me, Martin?
Yes, yes. Phil told me to thank you for the answer.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Are there any other questions?
Well, I have one, Roderick. How is the RPM server going on? Just let me know.
Sorry?
How the RPM right?
Yeah.
RPM server for the OS2 voice RPM server is going on. Do you think it's going to take too much time, or is it difficult to set up?
No. Well, the thing is, we actually wanted to create more RPM packages, but we've kind of hit a problem with that. As it stands right now, we're expecting that to have the first bunch of RPMs online within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
The primary applications that I'm currently targeting for release via the RPM server as a first one is VLC Media Player.
Okay.
But the other thing that has been worked on is a RPM file that automatically detects an ArcOS kernel and then marks the DLL's code segments to be loaded high. Now you can still deselect that, but that is to load large applications on OS2 easier. And then we can also experiment with that publicly and see how well that works. But then we can expand the user base to test it with. So,
Okay.
does that answer that doesn't answer your question when it's finished? But I hope it's pretty close to being finished soon.
Okay, because well, my idea is to have some place for the community to put their RPM package. so it can be more easy to install any kind of OS2 applications and the older ones also. Not
Well,
just
as I
new
s-
stuff,
Mhm.
just old
Yeah,
stuff
as I s-
and new stuff.
Well, as I said, the key thing is I want to get old software installable via RPM, but that all depends on what the legal status is of that software.
Yeah,
But
well,
but we can discuss that at a later date when the RPM repository goes live.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm working on that just like too many other things right now. So
yeah, it got to go live first, and then we can discuss anything.
are there any other questions?
Why aren't we using the current OS2 Facebook groups? Repeat that for him.
What? Sorry?
There's an OS2 Facebook group now. Why aren't we using it?
Yeah, Neil told me there is a current OS2 group right now on Facebook. Why we're not using it right now, or why we're not talking with that people, so we can work with them.
Sorry, what group is that? Is that you,
There
you
are-
said that
There are OS2 groups on Facebook
Yeah.
right now, so we should contact those people and try to do something together. That is
Yeah.
the idea, right?
Yeah.
drop me an email after Warpstock. To be very honest, I
Okay.
haven't really looked around on Facebook yet even.
Oh, okay.
What I've been working on is that if you now send an email to submit@os2voice.org, the distribution to all of these social media channels is fully automated. I don't want to be sitting copy pasting messages all day. So, but yeah, that's, if you guys know any Facebook groups, I'm certainly more than happy to get in touch with them, as most of the Yahoo groups and Usenet news groups are not really alive anymore. People have moved to other ways of communicating. Are there any other questions?
No?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Yeah. Thank you very much, Roderick.
Okay. I hope to see you guys then who can make it next year to Warpstock, but I'll certainly hope to have more information within the next month or so that we can celebrate Warpstock 2019 in a grand way and also make OS2 more visible. You guys enjoy your conference there. I wish that I could have made it, but sadly the bank account was empty, so I'll just follow it via the video stream. Thanks for organizing it, and I'll see you guys online somewhere. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.